When the world as we know it crumbles, forget about gold, forget about silver, forget about anything you think holds value today. Because when society collapses, no one's bartering for shiny metals. No one's trading gold bars for safety or silver coins for survival. That's the cold, hard truth no one wants to admit. When the grid goes dark and the systems we rely on vanish, the only thing that matters is what keeps you alive. Clean water, warmth, sharp instincts. The smartest survivors? They're not hoarding treasure, they're stockpiling the tools and items that become the new currency of survival. Think about it. When you're starving, when you're freezing, when you're desperate, what's worth more? A gold ring or a can opener, a silver coin, or a pack of waterproof matches? Most people don't get it. They think collapse is instant sirens, riots, chaos in a single night. But that's not how it works. It's a slow, agonizing unraveling. Comfort fades, desperation grows, and the things you ignored yesterday, they become priceless overnight. This is your wake-up call. I'm about to reveal 7 ordinary products that will be worth more than gold when the world falls apart. These aren't just survival tools, they're lifelines. And if you're not ready, you'll be the one trading your last valuables for a single wet wipe. Let's dive in. The fire starter hidden in plain sight. Steel wool. When the world collapses, fire isn't just a convenience, it's survival. And one of the most underrated tools for creating fire is something you've probably walked past 100 times in the cleaning aisle. Steel wool. Most people see it as nothing more than a scrubbing pad for dirty pots. But in a survival scenario, steel wool becomes a lifeline. Here's why. Steel wool, especially the fine-grade variety, ignites almost instantly with just a spark. Pair it with a 9-volt battery, and you've got a fire starter that works in the rain, in freezing temperatures, and even in total darkness. No need for lighter fluid, matches, or fancy gadgets, just raw, reliable ignition. Imagine being stranded in the wilderness, your hands trembling from the cold, and knowing that with a simple touch of steel wool to a battery, you can create life-saving warmth. But fire isn't the only trick steel wool has up its sleeve. It's a multi-tool in disguise. It can scrub rust off tools, restore corroded surfaces, and even sharpen dull edges when you're out in the field. It's lightweight, compact, and easy to store, making it a no-brainer for any survival kit. Now, let's talk about value. In a post-collapse world, when people are desperate for warmth and the ability to cook or purify water, steel wool becomes a currency. A single Ziploc bag of fine-grade steel wool could be traded for food, shelter, or even protection. Why? Because fire equals life, and the ability to create it on demand is priceless. My advice? Stock up. Vacuum seal rolls of fine-grade steel wool and test every batch before storing it. Keep it in your go bag, your vehicle, and even your jacket pocket. Because when the grid goes down and your matches are soaked, steel wool will be the difference between life and death. So ask yourself, do you have steel wool in your kit? Have you tested it in real-world conditions, rain, darkness, or under stress? Because in a true collapse, the person who can't make fire isn't just unprepared, they're a liability. 2. The survival multi-tool you never expected. Tampons. When you think of survival gear, tampons probably aren't the first thing that comes to mind. But in a world where the systems we rely on have crumbled, these small, sterile cotton plugs become one of the most versatile and valuable items you can carry. Let's start with the obvious. Tampons are sterile and individually sealed, making them perfect for emergency medical use. In a collapse scenario, where clean wound dressings are scarce, a tampon can act as a quick and effective wound pack. If someone suffers a deep cut, stab, or puncture wound, a tampon can absorb blood and slow the bleeding, buying precious time until proper medical care is available. That alone makes them worth more than gold when the world goes dark. But their usefulness doesn't stop there. Tampons are also excellent fire starters. The cotton ignites quickly and burns hot, making it an ideal tool for starting a fire in damp or high-pressure situation. Pair it with a spark or a flame, and you've got a reliable way to create warmth and cook food. And there's more. Tampons can be used to pre-filter dirty water, removing visible debris before it's passed through a purification system. While it won't make the water safe to drink on its own, it extends the life of your primary filter by keeping out larger particles, In a pinch, they can even serve as nasal plugs for nosebleeds or protection against smoke inhalation. Now, let's talk about their original purpose. Hygiene doesn't stop being important in a collapse. In fact, it becomes even more critical. A lack of proper hygiene can lead to infections, discomfort, and even panic. For women, having access to tampons can mean the difference between maintaining dignity and succumbing to despair. And in a group survival setting, hygiene supplies become powerful barter items. People will trade food, tools, and even protection for something as simple as a tampon. My take: I carry tampons in every major kit I own. They're lightweight, compact, and take up virtually no space. I've used them in training drills to pack wounds, start fires, and even filter water. They're a survival multi-tool that most people overlook. And that's a mistake you can't afford to make. So, are you stocked up? Do you know how to use a tampon in a survival situation? Because when the world falls apart, the person with real solutions, not gold or silver, will be the one in control. 3. The silent protector. Mousetraps. When people think about survival gear, they often focus on the big-ticket items: guns, generators, bunkers. But the truth is, it's the small, overlooked tools that often make the biggest difference. Case in point, the humble mousetrap. At first glance, a standard snap trap might seem like a strange addition to a survival kit, but in a collapse scenario, it's a game changer. Let's start with the obvious: pest control. In a long-term survival situation, your food storage will attract rodents, and if you think you can just deal with it when the time comes, you're already behind. A single rat infestation can destroy your food supply, contaminate your shelter, and spread disease. Mousetraps are a cheap, lightweight, and effective way to keep pests under control without the mess or risk of poison. But that's just the beginning. A mousetrap is more than a pest control device, it's a versatile survival tool. With a little creativity, you can adapt it for other uses. For example, you can rig a mousetrap with a trip line to create a perimeter alarm. When the line is triggered, the trap snaps, creating a loud noise that alerts you to intruders. It's a simple, silent, and effective way to protect your camp. Mousetraps can also be used to catch small game. With some bait and light rigging, you can set up a hands-free trap for birds or squirrels, providing you with a source of food while you focus on other tasks. It's passive survival at its finest. Set the trap, walk away, and come back to dinner. And let's not forget their value as a barter item. Most people don't think to stock up on mousetraps, which makes them incredibly valuable in a collapse. Show up with a pack of brand new traps when someone's camp is overrun by rats, and you'll find people willing to trade tools, food, or even medicine for the chance to reclaim their space. My advice: stockpile mousetraps in every supply bin. Vacuum seal packs of 5 with string and bait included, and keep a couple in your go bag. They're cheap, effective, and take up almost no space. And when the world falls apart, they'll be worth their weight in gold. So, let me ask you, do you have mousetraps in your kit? Have you ever set one in the field? Because in a true collapse, the person who can't catch, alert, or barter is just waiting to fail. And failure isn't an option when survival is on the line. 4. The water saver you didn't know you needed. Battery-powered aquarium air pump. When the grid goes down, water becomes your most fragile resource, not just in terms of finding it, but in keeping it safe. You might have gallons stored in barrels or containers. But here's the terrifying truth. Stagnant water is a breeding ground for bacteria, algae, and disease. And when clean water sources vanish, a stomach infection from spoiled water could be the thing that takes you out. Enter the battery-powered aquarium air pump. It might sound like an odd choice, but this little device, originally designed to keep fish alive during power outages, becomes a survival game-changer. By simply dropping the pump into your water storage for a few minutes a day, you can oxygenate the water, keeping it moving and discouraging the growth of harmful bacteria and algae. It doesn't purify the water, but it buys you time to find a new source, time to purify, and time to survive. But that's not all. This pump isn't just for water storage. If you're growing food in a hydroponic setup, it becomes essential for circulating nutrients and keeping roots healthy. In a world where every calorie counts, keeping your plants alive could mean the difference between eating and starving. And if you're thinking outside the box, The pump can even be rigged for low-pressure ventilation in sealed spaces or used to provide airflow in improvised setups. The best part, it runs on batteries, so you're not dependent on solar panels or fuel. It's lightweight, quiet, and easy to store, making it a perfect addition to any survival kit. And in a barter economy where clean water is more valuable than gold, a working air pump becomes a powerful trade item. Imagine trading one to someone whose water stash has turned toxic. That's not just a trade, that's leverage. My advice: stock up. I keep 3 pumps sealed with backup batteries and pre-attached tubing for instant deployment. I test them every 6 months to make sure they're ready to go, because when the grid fails and your water starts to turn, you'll wish you had one of these. So ask yourself, are you just storing water, or are you protecting it? Because when the taps run dry and the rivers are polluted, the person with drinkable water isn't just surviving, they're thriving. 5. The silent operator. Graphite lubricant. When society collapses, every movement you make becomes critical. Every door you open, every lock you turn, every tool you use, it all needs to work smoothly, and more importantly, silently. That's why graphite lubricant, not oil, is one of the smartest survival tools you can carry. Most people think of lubricants and immediately reach for oil-based products like WD-40 or gun oil. But here's the problem. In a survival scenario, oil becomes a liability. It attracts dust, turns sticky in extreme weather, and can even corrode your gear over time. Graphite, on the other hand, is a dry lubricant. It's odorless, temperature-resistant, and doesn't collect debris, making it the perfect choice for a world filled with dirt, dust, and chaos. Graphite is a lifesaver for locks, hinges, zippers, and firearms. Imagine trying to open a safe house door quietly, only to have it creak loud enough to alert every looter in the area. With graphite, you move like a ghost, silent, smooth, and undetected. And in a world where noise can mean death, that kind of stealth is priceless. But it's not just about silence. Graphite excels in dirty environments where oil would fail. Dust and grit don't stick to it, meaning your tools and weapons stay functional even in the harshest condition. And in a barter economy where people are desperate to keep their gear working, a small tube of graphite becomes a high-value trade item. You're not just offering maintenance, you're offering control, precision, and survival. I carry a tube of graphite in every bag I own. It's lightweight, lasts forever, and has saved me more times than I can count. I've used it to silently open gates, fix stuck hatches, and even help a stranger unlock a rusted bike chain. A favor that earned me extra rations in return. So let me ask you, are you prepared for silent movement? Because when the world falls apart, and every creak and clank could cost you your life, the person with graphite isn't just surviving, they're thriving. 6. The insect shield, mosquito net. When people think about survival threats, they picture looters, food shortages, or power outages. But the smallest threats are often the deadliest. Insects, especially mosquitoes, become a nightmare in a grid-down world, and that's why a mosquito net is worth more than gold when society collapses. Picture this: you're sleeping in a makeshift shelter, exposed to swarms of biting insects. One night of bites doesn't just ruin your sleep, it can break your immune system, spread infections, or worse, transmit deadly diseases like malaria or dengue. In a world without hospitals or antibiotics, a single infected bite could be a death sentence. A mosquito net solves this problem instantly. It's lightweight, foldable, and completely passive. You don't need power, chemicals, or fancy gadgets. You just hang it, zip it, and sleep soundly while everyone else is scratching themselves raw. And in a survival scenario, sleep isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Without it, your body and mind break down, leaving you vulnerable to mistakes and danger. But the value of a mosquito net doesn't stop at protection. In a group setting, it becomes a morale booster. It provides privacy, comfort, and a sense of control in a world that's spiraling into chaos. And in a barter economy, it's a game changer. Imagine trading a brand new mosquito net to someone who hasn't slept in days because of constant bites. That's not just a trade, that's power. I keep 2 nets in my long-term kits, one for personal use and one for trade. Both are sealed and tested, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. I've seen people trade high-value items like flashlights and tools just for the chance to sleep bug-free. So ask yourself, are you prepared for the smallest threats? Because when the world falls apart and infection is one bite away, the person with a mosquito net isn't just surviving, they're leading. 7. The unsung hero of survival. High-quality shoe insole. When the grid goes down and vehicles become useless, your feet become your primary mode of transportation. You'll be walking to water sources, foraging for food, and relocating to safer areas. And if your feet fail, your entire survival strategy collapses. That's why high-quality shoe insoles are one of the most underrated survival tools you can own. Think about it. Collapse means constant movement. You'll be covering miles of rough terrain, often carrying heavy loads. Without proper support, your feet will blister, your arches will ache, and your knees and back will start to give out. These aren't minor inconveniences. They're debilitating injuries that can slow you down, make you vulnerable, and even put your life at risk. A good pair of insoles with arch support and shock absorption can extend the life of your boots and your legs. They reduce fatigue, prevent injuries, and make every step a little easier. And in a survival scenario where every step counts, that can mean the difference between life and death. But insoles aren't just about physical comfort, they're a psychological boost. When your body is breaking down, small comforts can keep you going. Sliding a fresh pair of insoles into your boots after weeks of hard travel feels like a second wind for your feet. It's a morale booster that keeps you moving when you need it most. And let's not forget their value in a barter economy. Show up with a pair of high-quality insoles in a camp where people are limping from overuse, and you've got a trade item that's worth its weight in gold. People will trade food, tools, and even medicine for the chance to walk without pain. I keep 3 pairs of insoles in my kits, one in my boots, one in my go bag, and one in reserve. All are pre-fitted and tested, because I know that if my feet fail, I fail. So ask yourself, are you preparing your feet for the collapse? Because when the roads are rubble and every step is a struggle, the person who can still move is the person who survives. Bonus point 1. The ultimate barter tool, bike lighters. When the world collapses, fire becomes one of the most critical elements of survival. It's warmth, it's light, it's the ability to cook food and purify water. And while we've already talked about steel wool as a fire starter, there's another item that's even more practical, portable, and universally understood: the humble bike lighter. Why bike? Because it's reliable. These lighters are cheap, lightweight, and can produce thousands of ignitions before running out of fuel. Unlike matches, they don't get ruined by moisture. And unlike fancy survival fire tools, they don't require skill or practice to use. You flick, you spark, you have fire. It's that simple. But here's where it gets interesting. In a collapse scenario, bike lighters become one of the most valuable barter items you can carry. Think about it. Fire is life, and not everyone will have the tools or knowledge to create it. A single lighter could be traded for food, water, even protection. And because they're so small and lightweight, you can carry dozens of them without taking up much space in your pack. Beyond bartering, bike lighters are incredibly versatile. They can be used to seal the ends of paracord, sterilize needles or blades, and even melt plastic for quick repairs. And if the lighter runs out of fuel, the flint can still be used to create sparks, making it a dual-purpose tool. My advice? Stock up. Buy them in bulk, and store them in waterproof containers. Keep a few in your go bag, your vehicle, and your home. And don't just think of them as fire tools. Think of them as currency. Because when the grid goes down, and people are desperate for warmth and light, the person with a pocket full of lighters isn't just surviving, they're thriving. Bonus point 2. The overlooked lifesaver, duct tape. If there's one item that deserves a spot in every survival kit, it's duct tape. This unassuming roll of adhesive might not seem like much, but in a collapse scenario, it becomes one of the most versatile and valuable tools you can carry. Let's start with the basics. Duct tape is incredibly strong and durable. It can be used to repair torn clothing, patch up holes in tents or tarps, and even fix broken gear. In a world where resources are limited, the ability to repair and reuse items is critical. A roll of duct tape can extend the life of your equipment, saving you time, energy, and resources. But duct tape isn't just for repairs. It's also a survival tool in its own right. Need to create a makeshift bandage? Wrap duct tape around a piece of cloth. Need to secure a splint? Duct tape has you covered. It can even be used to create improvised weapons, traps, or restraints in a pinch. And then there's its value as a barter item. In a collapse scenario, people will be desperate for anything that can help them fix or secure their belongings. A single roll of duct tape could be traded for food, water, or other essential supplies. It's lightweight, compact, and universally useful, making it a perfect addition to any survival kit. My take: I keep multiple rolls of duct tape in my supplies. I've used it to patch up tents during storms, secure gear to my pack, and even create a makeshift water container in an emergency. It's one of those items that you don't fully appreciate until you need it, and when you do, you'll be glad you have it. So ask yourself, do you have duct tape in your kit? Because when the world falls apart and every resource counts, the person with duct tape isn't just surviving, they're innovating. Bonus point 3. The silent sentinel. Solar-powered motion lights. When society collapses, security becomes a top priority. You'll need to protect your shelter, your supplies, and yourself from both human and animal threats. And while firearms and alarms are obvious choices, there's another tool that's just as effective but far less conspicuous: solar-powered motion lights. These lights are designed to charge during the day and activate when they detect movement at night. In a survival scenario, they serve multiple purposes. First, they act as a deterrent. Most intruders, whether human or animal, will think twice about approaching a brightly lit area. Second, they provide you with an early warning system. If a light suddenly turns on, you know something, or someone is nearby. But the real beauty of solar-powered motion lights is their simplicity. They don't require batteries, fuel, or any manual operation. As long as they get sunlight during the day, they'll work reliably at night. And because they're solar-powered, they're completely silent, making them ideal for maintaining a low profile. These lights are also incredibly versatile. You can use them to illuminate your shelter, mark the perimeter of your camp, or even light up a path to your water source. And in a barter economy, they become a high-value trade item. Imagine trading a solar light to someone who's been living in darkness. That's not just a trade, that's a lifeline. My advice: invest in a few high-quality solar-powered motion lights, and test them before adding them to your kit. Place them strategically around your shelter or camp to maximize their effectiveness. And don't underestimate their value as a psychological tool. In a world where darkness breeds fear, a little light can go a long way. So let me ask you, are you prepared to protect your space when the lights go out? Because when the world collapses and security becomes a matter of life and death, the person with solar-powered motion lights isn't just surviving, they're defending. Bonus point 4. The unseen protector. Heavy-duty trash bags. When you think of survival gear, heavy-duty trash bags probably don't make the list. But in a collapse scenario, these simple, inexpensive items become one of the most versatile tools you can carry. They're not just trash bags, they're survival multi-purpose tools that can save your life in ways you've never considered. Let's start with shelter. In a world where the elements are your enemy, staying dry and warm is critical. A heavy-duty trash bag can be turned into an emergency poncho, keeping you protected from rain and wind. Cut it open, and it becomes a tarp to cover your gear or create a makeshift roof. Stuff it with leaves or grass, and you've got an improvised sleeping pad that insulates you from the cold ground. But that's just the beginning. Trash bags are also excellent for water collection. In a grid-down world, finding clean water is a constant struggle. A trash bag can be used to line a hole for collecting rainwater or as a solar still to extract moisture from the ground. It's lightweight, compact, and can hold gallons of water when needed. And then there's their use in sanitation. In a collapse scenario, hygiene often takes a back seat, leading to disease and infection. A trash bag can serve as a portable toilet, helping you manage waste safely and hygienically. It can also be used to store soiled clothing or bandages, keeping contaminants away from your living area. Trash bags are also invaluable for food storage. They can keep your supplies dry, protect them from pests, and even serve as an odor barrier to reduce the chances of attracting animals. And in a barter economy, their versatility makes them a high-value trade item. Imagine trading a roll of heavy-duty trash bags to someone who's struggling to stay dry or manage waste. That's not just a trade, that's a lifeline. My advice: stock up on contractor-grade trash bags. They're thicker, more durable, and less likely to tear than standard bags. Keep a roll in your go bag, your vehicle, and your home. Because when the world falls apart and every resource counts, The person with heavy-duty trash bags isn't just surviving, they're adapting. Bonus point 5, the lifeline in the dark. Crank-powered flashlights. When the grid goes down and the lights go out, darkness becomes one of your greatest enemies. It's not just about the fear of the unknown, it's about the very real dangers that lurk in the shadows. That's why a crank-powered flashlight is an absolute must-have in any survival kit. Unlike traditional flashlights that rely on batteries, crank-powered flashlights are self-sufficient. With just a few turns of the crank, you can generate enough power to light your way, no matter how long the blackout lasts. This makes them invaluable in a collapse scenario where batteries are scarce and solar chargers might not always be an option. But the value of a crank-powered flashlight goes beyond illumination. It's a tool for survival. Need to signal for help? A flashlight beam can be seen from miles away. Need to navigate treacherous terrain at night? A flashlight ensures you don't trip or injure yourself. Need to check your surroundings for threats? A flashlight gives you the visibility you need to stay safe. And then there's the psychological aspect. In a world plunged into darkness, light becomes a source of comfort and hope. A crank-powered flashlight doesn't just illuminate your surroundings, it lifts your spirits, giving you the strength to keep going. These flashlights are also incredibly durable. Most models are designed to withstand drops, water, and harsh conditions, making them perfect for survival situations. And because they don't rely on external power sources, they're completely independent, giving you one less thing to worry about. In a barter economy, crank-powered flashlights become a high-value item. Imagine trading one to someone who's been living in darkness for days or weeks. That's not just a trade, that's a gift of safety, security, and sanity. My advice: invest in a high-quality crank-powered flashlight and test it thoroughly before adding it to your kit. Keep one in your go bag, one in your vehicle, and one in your home. And don't underestimate its value as a trade item. Because when the world goes dark and every shadow hides a potential threat, the person with a crank-powered flashlight isn't just surviving, they're leading the way.